Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month slows. Full terms at mintmobile.com.
Spring is my favorite time to start a new workout routine. With the weather warming up, it feels easier to get into the rhythm of things. Whether you have 20 minutes or an hour for a Pilates class or outdoor guided walk, Peloton has everything you need to help you get going. Get a head start on summer with Peloton at onepeloton.com.
Back to the show, 203-333-9422. Before we get to our next guest, I want to say this. I just received an email from a listener who said that she has dense breasts and she had an ultrasound and her insurance company flatly refused to pay for it. So she ended up having to pay for it. And I want to say this. If you're somebody listening to me right now in Connecticut and you have insurance and your insurance company covers your mammogram, but you have dense breasts and they haven't covered your ultrasound, that's not the law in Connecticut. That law was passed many, many years ago that requires insurance companies to cover. And if you're being told otherwise, what I'd like you to do is contact our Office of Healthcare Advocacy. We had the leaders of that Office of Healthcare Advocacy on not too long ago. We have the podcasts up. And they will assign a case person to you. And if you find out that I'm wrong, I want to know. Because I was told by many people over many years that insurance companies had no choice, that they have to cover women with dense breasts who receive ultrasounds along with mammograms. And the reason they have to cover it is because a doctor cannot make an accurate diagnosis. A doctor cannot make an accurate assessment of whether or not you've got a tumor in your breast unless they look at both pieces of information. End of story. So if you've got an insurance company that is giving you a hard time, I want you to call. It's free. Call the Office of Healthcare Advocacy in Connecticut. They should be very responsive. They typically are. It's my experience. They're very responsive. And you let me know if you get your money back or you don't. I really want to know. 203-333-9422 is our number. Joining us right now is Vinol Fountain. I could be pronouncing this wrong. I do that a lot. I apologize. But in any way, Mr. Fountain is a partner with the firm Hirsch, Levy & Fountain. And the reason he joins us today is because he has become the first black person to be chosen the leader of the Greater Bridgeport Bar Association. And that's cool and that's wonderful. But the reason, Mr. Fountain, that I asked you on the show is because I was reading your biography. And I thought you had a pretty cool story. Welcome to the Lisa Wexa Show today. Hello.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. So I wanted to hear your story. You were late in life in becoming a lawyer. Tell us about yourself. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Let's hear the whole thing.
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm really humbled by the opportunity. I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I was raised just on the outskirts in Shelton, Connecticut, but by and large, my family is from Bridgeport. The Fountain family is a very, very, well-known family in the city with a lot of rich history. I come from a family background. My grandmother, Irene Fountain, had 15 children,
oh my goodness.
All who were professionals in their own right and had several children on their own. So I have several cousins. My mother, from the Crawford family, my grandmother on my mother's side had 8 sisters. So I really have a very rich family history in the city of Bridgeport. And, by way of a story, my wife and I, unfortunately she's deceased now. We lost her back in October 20 to breast cancer. But she and I, before we got married, started working locally in the community with a youth music organization called God's Generation. Which also was a really interesting time in our life because it was, serving our community while simultaneously doing a lot in the music industry. And that, was a thriving part of our life. And we also, did that and had what we call our real jobs, our full-time jobs while doing that as well. So it's been an interesting journey. And I've always really had a desire to practice law. I was with this law firm at the time. Obviously, I wasn't a partner because I wasn't a lawyer. The law firm was Hirsch and Levy, and our founding partner, Ivan Hirsch, whose name we still honor by being on our shingle, was the founding partner of the firm. So as a young man in my mid-20s, I was working for both he and my now partner, Sharon Levy, at this firm.
Okay.
So there's, so I know, a lot about the practice. I know about the area of law. And I just, wasn't quite sure where I was going with my life with the music. And I worked another job that dealt with information technology. That company was called Survey Sampling. They were also at the time located in Fairfield. They wanted to bring me on sort of as a full-time employee. I always like to have my side gigs and side hustles. I'm a pretty hard worker, so I always like to do a lot of things. I like to keep busy. But they had requested that I work for them full-time, which, limited my ability to stay with the firm Hirsch and Levy. But fast forward, many, many years down, around 2008, I decided that law was my true calling. I went back to school and then went to law school, UMass Dartmouth in Mass. And then immediately upon graduating law school and practicing the bar, Attorney Levy, asked me to come back and be part of the firm, which I, so graciously accepted.
So that is so cool. So how old were you when you graduated law school?
I was actually, that's a great question. I want to say, you're going to make me do the math, but I want to say I was about 39 when I graduated.
39. Okay. Mm-hmm. So not that late, but not that early either, after having
Correct.
a substantial career in other things. And why did you want to become a lawyer?
Well, as I said, law has always been something that I was interested in. I really do enjoy problem solving. I do enjoy helping people. I do enjoy fighting, for what I think is right and what is fair. And then, as I said, when I was in my mid-20s, I had already, started college. I was attending Sacred Heart, geared towards, going to law school and having a career in law. And, when you're young and sort of not settled in where you're going to go with your life or your career path, you try a few different things. So that's pretty much what I did. And then I realized in my mid-30s that my true calling, through the help of my late wife, I realized that my true calling was to get into the practice of law. And that's when, we made the decision that it was best to forego everything, dive into law school, and make a career out of it. And it's really been one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
We're chatting with Venoal Fountain, and your name is Venoal, and I have never seen that name before. Where does that name come from?
Oh, well, I'm named after my father. I'm a junior. I believe it's just a name that our grandparents made up. My late grandmother, Irene Fountain, as I said, she lived to be 94. I had already started practicing law, and many people ask, where does that name come from? And you actually did pretty well with the pronunciation. It's Venoal. It's pronounced Venoal. You did very well with it, so thank you. No, you did very well with it. Most people don't get that far, so I'm impressed. But, I questioned her as to where they came up with this name, and, she just said that her response to me was that it was something that she and my grandfather came up with. So that was my answer.
That's the answer. Venoal. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's distinctive, so then people will remember it, and that's a good thing. That's a fun thing.
Thank you. Yes,
and are you making your so you have 2 children of your own, I understand, and your wife passed so tragically. She was only 47 years old.
Well, actually, it was a typo in the Connecticut Post. She passed away actually at 46. So she was even younger, unfortunately. Yes, she was 46, but a fantastic woman. She worked with Yale New Haven Hospital for many, many years. Just upon her passing, she worked with the breast center, and the Norma Freeman Breast Center, and she did a lot of great things for them. She had gone through a couple of rounds. She was very private about it while she was going through it, but she had gone through a couple of rounds of cancer. And the first one she went through very well. And, after that, she became a strong advocate for the Norma Freeman Breast Center and started working for them, even prior to her passing. So she left some rich things with them. So we appreciate her and still honor her, of course.
How old are your kids now?
So I have an 8-year-old and I have a 20-year-old, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so both by her. And now I know why, the good Lord blessed me with our 8-year-old. We had settled in with the fact that we were only going to have one child, and, we were blessed with our daughter. And I laugh. I say she's the woman of our house now.
Well, Venoal Fountain, I want to congratulate you. It's a big honor to become the president of the Greater Bridgeport Bar Association. I think it is worthwhile that you're the first Black president of the Greater Bridgeport Bar Association. Congrats to you.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to watching your leadership. We're going to cut out now because Governor Lamont has a live press conference, and we want to hear what he has to say about the state of Connecticut. But I look forward to reading about and hearing about your accomplishments in the next year, and congrats.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and again, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.